MJF, Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin going on second from the top. So what did you think about the decision to put them in this position as opposed to on last?
I was a bit surprised by it, especially since Darby, like in an interview, said they were going to close the show. So I wonder if they knew whether or not they were good, or if they were under.
I could certainly imagine that they went back and forth with this. I'm of two thoughts. As I said on the preview, I feel I would have put these guys on last, but I guess your argument is that this identical match following Anarchy in the Arena, do you put them in a position that it was a great match, but they couldn't follow Anarchy in the Arena? You might have run that risk. Mm-hmm. And in this one, they went out, they had an unreal match, and you don't have any of that discussion. But I think I still would have put it on last. I don't know if it's I think a lot of people are just going to look at this match, and I thought like they absolutely blew this out of the water. I thought that this was athletically, this was incredible. This was incredible for 27 minutes. And
different enough from Anarchy in the Arena that I think it could have been a very successful main event on its own.
I do too. I think in hindsight, like, I don't think there was necessarily one that it would have impacted things. Like, I think this would have followed it if it was this exact match. Mm-hmm. And the way that Anarchy in the Arena ended, like, you do end it with a big angle at the end of it, mm-hmm. but it wasn't so much so that I could have seen them feeling like we have to end the show that way either.
I think this could have survived the main event slot, but I think putting it in a semi-main slot is the safer bet. And I think doing that assures both matches will receive maximum energy from the crowd. Because even though this would have like garnered good reactions, there was like going to be a huge chance that like people weren't going to react to like a good portion of this if it had to follow Anarchy in the Arena.
It would have probably affected the start of the match. That's for sure. This also started minutes after Succession ended.
Again, no spoilers, please. Okay.
What am I going to do? How could I have any spoilers?
Eternity ban for any Succession spoilers, including you, John.
How would I know anything that happened? Like, you know what I was doing?
Let's stop even encouraging people right now.
Yes. Sammy Guevara comes out with Ty Mello, and we get the cue cards coming back, and they announce that they are expecting a baby. And in 2023 booking, I was like, okay, he's definitely losing. There's no way the expected father is getting the win here. This would be too happy of a moment.
Well, I definitely thought this took away any chances of him turning back heel after this. And yeah, like Ty Mello hasn't wrestled since March, so timing kind of checks out.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them. That's amazing.
Congratulations to both of them. It's great news. And as Tony Schiavone said, only in AEW can we go from a wonderful announcement like that to this bizarre video for Darby Allin he's at like a Vegas chapel for a wedding emceed by a Elvis impersonator, and the bride, I guess, is wearing a MJF cardboard cutout mask, and Darby shows up as the groom and murders this person, and they have to dispose of the body, and Darby is out in this bizarre Elvis costume for the biggest match of his life.
Yeah.
And Tony Schiavone was just like, the fuck are we doing? He's like, only in AEW could we get a birth announcement followed by that.
It was exactly a Darby Allin entrance. Everything you would expect a Darby Allin Las Vegas themed entrance to be. I thought it was pretty cool.
And then MJF descends from a throne wearing the devil mask, and Tony is outraged at the gall, the ego of this man to lower himself in a throne. I was like, we just watched a advanced AV project that took probably weeks from Darby Allin versus I'm going to come down in a chair. And he's got the devil mask on, and it was like three really different entrances. And I mean, Sammy Guevara wasn't so much an entrance, but it was like a memorable part of his entrance. And then it's like Jungle Jack was just like, I did not get the memo about anything special.
His budget is
his regular theme, and it was no frills at all for Jack.
He pays his budget for his theme song.
He should have driven down on the car that he's driven to Las Vegas all
He should have had a live the band that sings that song. What's their name? Tarzan Boy. Yeah, Tarzan Boy. Who does that? Baltimore. Are they still active?
I doubt it.
Could Tony Khan have hired Baltimore to Baltimore should have played Anarchy in the Arena.
How much was the band budget on this show? Because they were going to get their money's worth in the next
I mean,
one.
I don't know how much the Violent Idols cost.
Is that what their names are?
I'm not
Violent
assuming
Idols?
much. Yeah.
Okay. So the match begins, and I'm going to do my best here. This was a athletic tour de force among these four, and dude, I just thought like Sammy Guevara had like to me one of the most impressive performances of his career.
Oh, he had dad energy. Like it was like he had new dad energy. Okay, which he's going to need a lot of in a few months. But it was just like I just made the announcement. Tonight's my night. I'm gonna just light this place on fire, and he did.
He pretty much did. So the three take turns with MJF in the corner, but then MJF is sent to the floor. So they start going. And these three, I mean, it's just incredible watching the sequences here. We see just some of the highlights here. Early on, Darby did use a side headlock takeover on MJF, which we would revisit later. Darby hits his crazy Lope and is caught by Guevara with a cutter on the floor that looked incredible. And then Guevara takes out everyone and hits a frog splash on MJF. There was a sign facing the hard camera that read, "Phil is a cancer." And then mysteriously the sign disappeared. Yes. I didn't get the longest look at this. I'm pretty sure this guy had spelt Phil Phill.
No. Come on. No
Someone
way.
double checked for me. I'm pretty sure there was a second L, but I couldn't rewind to.
So he's talking about someone else.
He must be.
Okay.
MJF uses the side headlock takeover on Darby, but he kicks out and then he spits on Darby and calls him a worthless piece of shit, just like all these people. And then all four take each other down. The crowd is applauding this. And then we had a series of each guy using one of their mentors' moves. We had a Scorpion Death Drop from Darby. Guevara hit a code breaker. Then Darby, it was the kill switch being used by Jungle Boy and ending with MJF using the Crossroads.
Love it. So great.
Really great idea that they had here.
You're right. It's a PIHLL.
Never change. MJF gets on the mic. He tells Sammy, listen, with the new baby coming, you need the money. What does this wrestling contract pay you? Lay down. And Sammy says, okay, I'll lay down. Not a person in this building bought this. But when he went for the inside cradle, it did lead to a pretty heated near fall. Yeah. So it did get the pop. GTH gets stopped. Sammy goes for the walls when Darby applies the Scorpion Deathlock onto Perry. But both submissions are broken as MJF and Jack Perry lock hands. There was a four-way submission spot, and the crowd is chanting, "Fight forever. Forever," in this four-way submission spot. Just keep this submission going.
It was like a Ouroboros.
Exactly. Yes. Took the words right out of my mouth. Darby then sprinted on the floor, clotheslining Perry and MJF over the guardrail. This looked nuts. I mean, in the grand scheme of things on this show, maybe you're not going to remember this, but I was just like, my God, this looked insane as he just drilled these guys. So then we have a four-way standoff, and MJF pokes them in the eyes. Then they all drill MJF, and it's Guevara with a cutter off the top, code red by Darby, and an elbow to the back by Perry. We go into a three-way sequence with Perry, Darby, and Guevara, all going for these covers, including a crucifix by Perry on Guevara with a bridge by Darby. I mean, it was incredible. It was so fluid.
They got a standing ovation.
This crowd was they were in awe of what they were seeing.
Yeah.
MJF then brings out the blonde bombshell. And I mean, before I could even type it, Taz is immedially tying this to Chris Candido.
Okay. I was wondering who you're talking about, but that's the top rope power bomb.
This was the move Candido saw Benoit do in Japan, and he just fell in love with this move, and it became like his big move was the blonde bombshell. And you're going to hear about this a lot on Dark Side this week with Candido being the subject.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful that Taz was on commentary for this because he actually happened to correct.
He got it. He immediately, noted it. So that was very cool.
Like Excalibur rightfully, would have assumed Awesome Bomb, but Taz knew the connection to Candido and MJF. Yeah.
Yes. And MJF is actually selling his arm after delivering this, but it's all a ploy to low blow Guevara. And then he pulls out the dynamite ring Darby nails him with a skateboard to the back of the head and goes for the coffin drop. And dude, this coffin drop, I thought he like crushed MJF's face. He came down and it was not on the chest. It looked so brutal. Mm-hmm. And then he goes for the headlock takeover. Jack Perry dives in to break it. And they're screaming that Darby would have been champion. Big slap fight between Perry and Darby. Not too far from the home of Power Slap here in Vegas. Could have tried this out at the Apex.
Yes.
MJF gets the belt and Perry blocks it, and Sammy Guevara takes MJF out to the floor and the belt lands in Perry's hands. And there is Darby, all discombobulated. And the announcers are very good on this whole match and tying this all, and how Darby said you won't take advantage and have that killer instinct. And here is Jack Perry having this realization, and he opts not to use it, and this crowd boos.
He even like looked up in the sky as if he was like, "Hey, Dad, should I join the dark side?" You know, that sort of thing. And yeah, the crowd wanted to see the turn. And
Dylan McKay would have done this in a heartbeat.
100%.
Brandon.
I loved how like they had Darby prior to this use a skateboard on MJF. Like Darby's not above this; he's a baby face, and they're here to show that, you know, Jack Perry is a different type of baby face.
So by dropping the title onto the floor, Darby recovers and he applies the Last Supper, and Jack Perry kicks out of this. And I feel this was just going so fast that people could not appreciate how protected that Last Supper has been.
Totally.
I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever kicked out of this. To me, this was like a big spot that Jack Perry got, but it was just so much was happening that I feel it wasn't as pronounced as it could have been.
It was a big spot to me because, yeah, I don't really recall anybody kicking out of, like, it's a very protected pinfall. So, yeah.
And then we're just going crazy here. Flying knees by Guevara, a GTH onto Perry. Darby then shoves Guevara off the top, and Darby goes for the coffin drop, but MJF is back into the ring, and he places the title onto Jack Perry's chest. So Darby doesn't see that he lands onto the belt, and MJF picks up Darby and uses the side headlock takeover to pin him at 27 minutes and 49 seconds. Whoever came up with this finishing sequence was brilliant. I thought this was like a perfect ending to this match.
100%.
Dude, this match was out of this world. Incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the listen, I truly appreciate we're about to talk about Anarchy in the Arena, but for what I enjoyed the most, this was the match for me on the show. I thought honestly this might have been the best like four-way I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would not fight anybody to, you know, if you had two incredible candidates, and this did not main event, but I think they definitely convinced a lot of people that they should have. And that's I as much of a compliment as I think you can give these four. It was such a beautifully designed match involving all four men. And where do we start here? You know, like, first of all, the entrances I thought were meaningful. They were grand. I love the spot of everybody hitting their mentors' finishers. Like, you had so many different chapters throughout the match to keep your focus and to keep your attention. So many memorable things about it. You know, the baby, like, you know, the MJF bringing up the baby to get Sammy to turn, leading to a great small package. The four-way submission, the Mexican standoff with the elbow, and the ending with the eye poke. The Canadian destroyers, like. Perry, you know, like going through this sort of like moral, you know, debate about whether or not he should use the title, which is something I hope they continue to build on and that they finally execute so that we, you know, get that big reaction. But no matter what you thought about the build, and it's definitely, you know, received mixed reactions, especially from us, but from the audience as well. It was always going to come down to this match that's going to leave the lasting legacy, and they knocked it out of the park. They delivered this beautiful match of the year contender. And for a lot of people, I wouldn't doubt that they would agree with you that this might be the best four-way that they've seen.
I just thought this was out of this world, and I was expecting a phenomenal match from these four. It was really I don't know what more I could say about it other than it was a must-see match on this show. Post Wrestling and Poison Rana, we are teaming up.
The Forbidden Pour, Post Wrestling and Poison Rana the same day. If for anyone traveling in for Forbidden Door, we will be literally steps away from the Scotiabank Arena. It is right next door. It is attached to the arena. We're going to have a pre-party. John and Wei, you guys are going to do a podcast before the show, but it's afterwards that the after party is where things are really going to kick off, because we're going to do some wrestling karaoke.
And it's already been promised that a Mr. John Pollock is going to sing All In by Downstate.
Yeah, he agreed. It was in the contract. We've been throwing a few parties before, but nothing this big, nothing this huge. This is our double or nothing, really, and we're so excited. This is going to be a blast. If you're thinking about Forbidden Door weekend, now is your chance, because tickets are available now, aren't they, Wei?
Yes, they are right now. Postwrestling.com/live. I'm super excited.